Good afternoon, everyone. This is Mellissa Thomas with Florida National News coming to you with a special edition of FNN Business Talk. And today we'll be talking with Edward DeAguilera, who is the Executive Director of the Indian American Chamber of Commerce, which is, of course, based in Orlando. So this looks to be a very fun conversation. Florida National News has had the privilege to work with the Indian American Chamber of Commerce since last year, and we met Mr. DeAguilera very recently, as he very recently joined the board as executive director in January of this year. So right before COVID-19 hit and things went all kinds of crazy. But very briefly, guys, I do want to give you a brief overview of who Mr. DeAguilera is, just to, give you guys a bit of a, have a better idea of who he is before we get into the interview. So Edward DeAguilera grew up in Orlando, Florida, and graduated from Bishop Moore High School. He went on to study political science and public relations at the University of Central Florida, #GoKnights, and earned his Bachelor of Science in Political Studies from Columbia College in 2010. Professionally, DeAguilera has served as the Director of Development and Community Partnerships for the Down Syndrome Association of Central Florida. He has also served on several board of directors throughout Central Florida and nationally, such as the Orlando Health Foundation, Health Central Foundation, the U.S. Census Bureau Census Advisory Committee, Down Syndrome Affiliates in Action, and TAM Airlines Recruitment Committee, among others. He previously served as the Director of Operations and Events for the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of Metro Orlando, or as we all affectionately know it regionally, HCCMO, from 2005 to 2010. And of course, as I mentioned, he very recently joined the Indian American Chamber of Commerce in January of this year as the executive director. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Mr. Edward DeAguilera. How you doing?
Hello. Thank you so much for having me here, Mellissa.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here. Appreciate it.
My absolute pleasure.
Awesome. So, let's jump right into it. You
specialize in absolutely.
Yeah. You specialize in operations and event coordination primarily. So, I mean, obviously that's, high pressure situations, adaptation, quick problem solving, and, obviously leadership over any situation. So kind of talk about the skill set that you entered that field with. Obviously you have 2 degrees or degrees from 2 colleges. So kind of talk about the skills you entered that field with after school, and then the skills you kind of acquired on the job or like in the field.
It's interesting that you mentioned operations and events because, yes, that's been a lot of my roles have been in that particular area. But most of my roles have really been in the nonprofit world. And being in the nonprofit world, what you learn very quickly is that you must be nimble, you must adapt, and you also must be willing to do a whole array of things that may not be necessarily part of your job description. So my very first professional job out of college was with a place called the Orlando Humane Society, which then turned into the SPCA of Central Florida, which is now called Pet Alliance. So that was my first foray into the corporate professional world. But what a great way to actually start learning, especially in that nonprofit world, because you learn everything and you learn everything quickly. You learn marketing, you learn press relationships, you learn strategic planning, you learn fund development, you learn budgeting and finances. All these areas are crucial. And because nonprofits have to be lean and mean and really offer this amazing service, you are oftentimes asked to do several different things that are not necessarily in, like I mentioned, not necessarily in your job description. So that was kind of my first time. And then from there, I went on to actually work for the city of Winter Garden for quite some time. And I speaking of events, I actually put on their centennial celebration. I'm very proud of the time that I served with them and the legacy that we left with that community. And I still live in that community. So it's a very close to my heart.
Awesome. And I mean, go ahead and delve a little bit into that experience in terms of working on that event and what that takes, because even working in nonprofits, like each nonprofit is its own culture, is its own machine, if you will. So talk about that difference between working for a nonprofit organization versus working with a city and working with that sort of municipal government. Kind of talk about that.
It's interesting you mentioned that because when I went into it, obviously, still young, right out of that college, I had served with the Humane Society for quite some time. But at that was my second career professional job, and I did not look at it very differently. And let me explain to you why.
Mm,
So, a
okay.
nonprofit has a board of directors.
Right.
And the board of directors, they're the fiduciary responsibility. They are the leaders. They are taking you to a certain role. Well, a city has a city commission.
Right.
And very similar to a board of directors. They are setting that strategic planning. They are the leaders and we are the staff. And we sometimes have to implement. Now, my role was a little bit different because I was brought in to be not only the director of the Centennial Celebration, but also some of the strategic planning and to look much broader than just festivities. The
Uh,
concept is the city of Winter Garden at that point in time had undergone some major revitalization. And those who
mm,
have visited Winter Garden know that community is just a gem in Orange County with its cobblestone streets. Well, that's not how it looked uh, 20 years ago. It
mm,
was devastated because of the loss of a lot of what their business was. And a lot of their business was agricultural based. Well, after this revitalization, they knew that they not only wanted to celebrate their 100th anniversary, but they wanted a big bang for the entire community, Central Florida community, to really know that Winter Garden is here and it's a brand new Winter Garden. And so I'm glad that I was able to actually do some of these things. It was a year-long celebration. It was a lot of events, really marking this milestone of this community that was so integral in the growth of Orange County. A lot of folks probably don't realize a lot of the history of West Orange and how West Orange really is key to the development of what Orange County, or even before Mosquito County, was. So I'm getting way deep into. You guys need to visit the Orange County Historical Museum. You'll find out
ah,
a lot of all this fun stuff. And if you don't, and you are in the Winter Garden, go and visit the Winter Garden Historical Museum. It's a cute, wonderful area that'll really talk about some of the amazing history behind the community. And Winter Garden, a lot of folks don't realize, one of the first desegregated communities in Orange County, and we're proud of those types of things. So, still has a blossoming and amazing African American community within the city, and it's just a city that grows by leaps and bounds, but still has that small town quality. So now that maybe the city of Winter Garden should hire me back because I'm obviously you're promoting the heck out of that city, and very
for sure.
proudly do.
Absolutely. Especially as a resident, like it's that kind of feeds into, the pride of that. Um, I did want to ask,
It's
given
my
your
home.
right, um, given your experience so far, with in the nonprofit world, working with the city of Winter Garden, what were some pitfalls that you learned along the way? Like, oh, okay, like figured that out, won't do that again. Like, what were some pitfalls that you learned?
The one thing that I can, if I'm going to answer that question in thoughts of if anybody's ever thinking that I want to work for a nonprofit, it is deeply gratifying. It
Mhm.
is an amazing, especially if you believe and are passionate in the mission. And I will tell you, if you want to go into that world, you must have a passion for it. Now, you may not start
Mm,
with your passion immediately. The passion may grow. The best example I can give you is the Down Syndrome Association of Central Florida. Not only did I serve as Director of Development and Community Partnerships, but I also then worked as the Executive Director for that organization as well. Well, when I joined that organization, I did not have a child that has Down syndrome. But I will tell you this, I now have many children with Down syndrome that are part of my family because you get that passion. So one of the main things that I always advise folks that want to go into that world is you need to have the passion for the mission. The second thing, and I don't know if it's necessarily a pitfall, but at least something that you have to understand is, as I mentioned earlier, nonprofits is exactly that. It is not there to make a profit. It is there to serve the community in whatever capacity its mission is there. The Humane Society is obviously for animals and animal rescue, animal welfare. The Chambers of Commerce are for business networking and business promotion. The Down Syndrome Association is to help the Down syndrome community here in Metro Orlando. With that said, please understand that literally on one day,
mhm.
you could be packing up trucks and packing up boxes and sweating up a storm. That same day, you could be in a meeting with the president and CEO of a major Fortune 500 company here in Central Florida or elsewhere. That's just the dynamic of how those industries work. You must be nimble. You must be willing to make sure that you are ready for anything that happens. Make sure that you are understanding of what crisis management is, understanding how
Mm,
to offer the most high-end quality services, but understand you may have a beer budget in doing it.
nice.
Champagne service with a beer budget is probably the best way, and that's okay, because one of the things that everybody should understand in the nonprofit world, and this is where some of the similarities with working with the city of Winter Garden. So, who are your stakeholders for the city of Winter Garden? Well, those are the residents, the taxpayers, the ones that
Hmm.
supply. Well, when you go into the nonprofit world, who are your constituents? Are those that are investing into your mission, those that are
Right.
actually writing and stroking a check or volunteering time. So you must be willing and ready to answer to them at all times, and make sure, not that you have to know everything, but make sure that you are to being as clear, as transparent as you possibly can. And luckily, through my career path and my professional career, I have been able to be transparent and have some successes and be very proud of the history that I've been able to do through my career, and the places that I've been able to serve as well.
Awesome. And just a quick note in terms of the mic, I know those the earbuds are kind of sometimes they rub
I,
against your jacket or
it's that Latin thing. I'm trying to make sure I put my hands
like
down. I keep on, and I know I've noticed that my hands keep on creeping back up.
it's all good. Just wanted to make sure, our audience gets to hear you loud and clear because you have such an incredible story. Um, yeah. So one of the things I noticed in your history is you did study political science at UCF and then you studied political studies at Columbia College. So obviously for folks who may not know, you did run for public office.
I
So
did.
kind of talk about that experience. You ran for state senate back in, for the 2014 election. So talk to us about that experience. What was that like for you?
It was an amazing experience, an experience that I would not give up for the world. I obviously have always had, from my very first memory, for some reason, I've always had this passion of public policy and of civic duty and of giving back to the community, which is probably one of the reasons that I ended up in the nonprofit world. I believe in giving back. I believe that it is our mission, that if we are able to, is to help strengthen our community in whatever capacity you can. And so at that point in time, there was an opportunity, and I was asked to consider, and I did. I ran for office, and it was an amazing experience that I wouldn't give up for the world. It is something that you learn a lot of yourself. You learn a lot of folks around you, and it's becomes challenging in the point that my whole career has always been promoting something, promoting a
Hmm.
mission or promoting an event or promoting whatever corporate entity I was affiliated to at the time. And it was one of the most challenging things is now you're promoting yourself. And so
Hmm.
every single piece of my being was really had to kind of get over that leap of it's
Hmm.
okay to promote yourself. It's okay to talk about yourself. You just have to walk that line of not being an egomaniac. And it was an experience that I truly enjoyed, and I won my primary. Unfortunately, I lost the general, but the representative at the time beat me fairly and squarely. She trounced me, so it was all good.
Okay, got you. And I mean, were there any lessons that you took from that experience in terms of the political stuff that you were able to apply to the work that you've done with both respective chambers of commerce?
It's what the most amazing thing is that those experiences that you do, you meet folks uh, that you normally would not necessarily have met through your normal travels.
Right.
Um, and that is something that is an experience that I absolutely loved and will never give up, is folks that these bonds that you actually form during that process are bonds that continue way past the actual campaign and the election. And these bonds have actually been able to be then integrated into my professional career as well. Um, I believe that probably some of those connections and some of those contacts that I've made have made my professional career a little bit smoother. Because we've learned those ways. And what you also learn is that you need to believe in yourself. And that's a
Mm,
lesson that, everybody can say that they do, and they try to do things that they believe are in that nature. But when you're running for office and your neck is on the line, either if you believe in yourself, you can get through it. If you don't,
mm,
you're going to be shattered. And that's probably the lesson that I learned from the campaigns that I've been participated in.
awesome. So talk a little bit about, your leadership style, because obviously, as you mentioned, having the champagne vision, but like the beer budget, but
Budget.
when you're serving public service, and that sort of adaptive environment when you're dealing with event coordination. How do you're someone who's very ebullient, very social, very high energy, but how do you normally balance that while still keeping the main thing, like holding the vision, making sure everyone that's involved in the project accomplishes the mission.
And one of the things that I would say to answer that is that it is the vision thing. And what I mean by that is when you are planning whatever that plan is, whether it's an event, whether it's a program, whether it's an organization, whether it's something that you're doing, whether it's the widget, the famous widget that we always use as the example through those college years, you must make sure that that vision is clear, and that you also write it down, and also don't be afraid to ask support and help in achieving that vision and mission. For example, if you are starting a company here in Central Florida,
Hmm.
there are so many outlets that you can use that will help you with marketing plans, business plans, strategic planning. If you're starting a nonprofit, make sure your vision is clear, make sure your vision is concise. And so those are the lessons that I've learned throughout my life by working with these different entities that I've worked in, is that if you are clear in that, then you know where you're going, because you know what to shoot for. One of the things that I did find challenging is, especially when you have a program in your mind and you have or an event in your mind, is it's crystal clear for you. It's not crystal clear for everyone. And so
Hmm.
you need to take that time to slow down, to make sure that you verbalize it in the best, clearest, concise manner so that everyone understands. I used to say, like, oh, putting these things together, it's no big deal. It's not like it's rocket science. And finally, somebody who I had a lot of respect for, they said, Ed, you need to stop saying that. And I asked them, well,
Hmm.
why? And it's like, because that skill set that is there, it's unique to you and to those that have that skill set. Not everyone can do these types of things. And I never thought that in that manner, but it's true. um an attorney's going to go to you and say things, and they're going to be like, well, why don't you understand? It's like, well, that's not the skill set that I have. So,
Hmm.
you know are your parents and God, they have all given you these particular skill sets, and you have to understand that they are unique to you. And you must make sure that when you are describing them, that not only do you have that clear vision, that clear mission, is that you also are able to articulate it in a way that other folks understand where you're coming from, that other folks can understand what that vision is. So that when you are planning and handling logistics and making sure that everything is being taken care of to achieve that ultimate goal, that the folks will join you in achieving that goal.
Well said. Appreciate that. So in the meantime, guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break and come back with some more talk with Mr. Edward DeAguilera. And we're going to transition a little more into present day with his work with the Indian American Chamber. So stay tuned, guys.
At Duke Energy, we deliver electricity and so much more, like free home energy assessments, rebates for energy-saving improvements, payment options to help you better manage your budget, and even bill credits for helping the community use less energy. So no matter what you're doing, we can help you make better energy choices every day. It's just another way we bring power to your life. How much can you save?
And we are back with Indian American Chamber of Commerce Executive Director Edward DeAguilera. So let's get talking about the Indian American Chamber. Obviously, a typically very prosperous community. The Indian American community. They are in the tech sector, real estate sector. A lot of them are quite wealthy in terms of what they're able to create on their own. So my question is, what benefits does the chamber offer for companies or business owners that are interested in joining?
Well, let me talk a little bit about the community. That'll kind of segue into exactly what you're asking of what the chamber can actually provide for them. This community is not only are they established economically in Central Florida, but is one of the hardest working communities that I've ever seen. These folks work hard for what they've achieved. So I give them complete honor and success in what they're doing. I just give them complete kudos to that. They believe in education. They believe in hard work. And the sectors that they are very highly represented is medical, tech, a lot of marketing, a lot of hoteliers, a lot of convenience store owners. These folks definitely have that entrepreneurial spirit in their hearts, in their soul. It's streaming through their veins. With that said, the Indian American Chamber of Commerce was created just very similar to any other chambers of commerces, to make sure we foster business, that we connect individuals, that we offer opportunities to grow. So in the very onset, the Indian American Chamber was, very much almost exclusively for that particular community. But as the years grow, and the chamber has grown, I should say, and as the years go passing by, the chamber has grown with that and has also now expanded. Well, you will find individuals that are not of Indian descent. And why are they a member? They're a member because they want to make sure that they touch base with that community. Very similar to my time when I was working at the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, that you would see individuals that didn't have Alvarez or Suarez, and that were not necessarily of Hispanic descent. Why were they a member of the Hispanic Chamber? That same concept is they wanted to do business with the Hispanic community. And now that's one of the things that we've also noticed with the growth of the Indian American Chamber of Commerce, that people have finally figured out that this community is highly successful, highly motivated. They are developers, they are real estate folks, they are hoteliers, they are convenience store owners, and you're seeing companies that want to be involved with those particular sectors. They want to be there and kind of breathe that entrepreneurial spirits and see how they can collaborate. So what the Indian American Chamber of Commerce does is really offer opportunities for these business entities to come together, to grow their business, to collaborate. We do that through events, we do that through programming, and we're very aggressive with that. And that's, I think, one of the reasons that they brought me on, is to make sure that they not only are aggressive, but they continue to be aggressive, and they continue to be innovative, and they continue to grow.
Awesome. That is a mouthful.
I know.
For sure. And I mean, just talking a little bit about, like you touched a little bit on the Hispanic Chamber. What kind of drove you to join the leadership of both of those chambers? Obviously, you were with the Hispanic Chamber a while back, but
Sure.
what first appealed to you, especially coming from the nonprofit world, to join the chambers of commerce, which is a little bit more so in the business world, still kind of nonprofit with the chambers themselves, but dealing with the business community specifically?
I will tell you this. I am a firm and huge believer in especially small businesses.
Hmm.
A quote that I've often said is, the small business today is the Fortune 500 business of tomorrow. The backbone of our community are small
Hmm.
businesses. Yes, please don't misunderstand me. We love our Disneys, our Universals, our Dardens. We love them. We need them. We want them to be successful. But we also need our small mom and pops to be successful as well. In the US, those smaller entrepreneurs, companies that are 50 and under, are actually the largest employer of the entire US. So a lot of these companies they need things like chambers of commerces to grow.
Hmm.
The Chamber of Commerce is an outlet for them to be able to network, to be able to promote, to be able to market themselves, to be able to collaborate with different businesses, with different entities, to grow their business, to actually establish new levels, to hire more folks, to be more successful. So the reason that I love the combo of business promotion and nonprofit, and you put them together, because I truly believe that chambers of commerces are so integral in employment and in success of the business success in your community. People want jobs, they want to be successful, they want to own businesses, they want these challenges to be successful. And the chambers of
Right.
commerce allow that. And that's really where my passion comes from, is with that whole dotted line of how can we, as a chamber, as an organization, allow them to be successful. And Mellissa, I got to tell you, some of the stories that I've seen, not just at the Indian American Chamber, but even just through my entire professional career, where I've seen folks that have utilized and have mind chambers that started as a 2-person operation and now are a blossoming mammoth employer in our community. There are stories after stories that utilize that Chamber of Commerce to take those leaps into the next level of their business.
And kind of give us one of those case studies, or at the very least, kind of the general example of how you've seen a business blossom in either chamber, Indian American or Hispanic. Starting from the 2-person.
No, absolutely. There was a small magazine that started, and it was a 2-person operation. And you being in media, understand that anytime that you go into the media world, that is hard work. Well, what they were savvy enough is to actually start and forge a relationship with the chamber. That they worked it, they hosted after hours, they promoted the chamber, they promoted businesses that were also in the chamber. They made themselves into be leaders. They mined the business and members of the chamber. That magazine was ultimately sold for over $10 million.
Wow.
They achieved that because they were smart and savvy. I give them full credit. They actually worked hard, but the chamber was an integral piece of that. Not because the chamber did anything specific. We had our programming, we had our networking, we had what we offered, but they were savvy to utilize and to leverage the relationships that they got through the chamber, and they also worked it hard. They mined it. The chambers of commerces, it's oftentimes folks will join the chamber. Mm-hmm. And then they'll be like, 6 months going, I didn't really get any business from the chamber. And I always then ask, and I always do the follow-up and say, well, what did you do? Did you attend our after hours? Did you attend our programming? Did you go and send information, be featured as a member spotlight? And the answer is 9 times out of 10 is no. So just because you're a member doesn't mean that will give you ultimate success. Your membership just opens the door. The rest of it is for you. Now, my role as a chamber staffer is to make sure we offer the programming, the education, the opportunities for you as a member to grow your business, to achieve your goals. And I want also to say, I'm talking a lot about business owners. Chambers of commerce are not solely for business owners. If you are a member of a larger corporation and you want to be there because you want to improve your networking ability, you want to your Rolodex, expand your Rolodex, because it does mean business development. That is an awesome opportunity to be able to do that. It's an amazing opportunity for you to grow professionally and to grow socially as well.
Makes sense. Awesome. And then
see, I'm a promoter.
Say that again. It got a little garbled. Go ahead. Say it again.
I'm a promoter of chambers of commerce, as you can see.
You were good at your job. Were there any newer lessons that you learned working in the Indian American community versus working in the Hispanic chamber? Were there any kind of new things that you learned here?
What's interesting about it is, and when I was brought on, they're like, okay, so we're going to teach you a lot about Indian culture, and they have. Now, with that said, what I also found very interesting, and this is not just between the difference between the two chambers, but it's also with a lot of my career, is what binds us is our commonalities. Mm-hmm. We have so many things in common, much more than what makes us different. I learned that, and that lesson was actually learned through the Down Syndrome Association, that you really, what a typical child and a child that happens to have Down syndrome, there are more things that make them common than makes them different. And something that I learned with the difference between the Hispanic Chamber and the Indian American Chamber of Commerce is exactly that, is what actually binds them are their commonalities. That, it's that ethnic blood that runs them, that strength of and that commitment into their community. It's the family side. It's and even the food, even though there are differences, there are a lot of similarities into what we do. So we have a lot more things in common than we do that makes us actually different. So the merging of those types of worlds are my favorite thing. Is that fusion is so is the goal of ultimately for our entire community, and I'm excited about that type of thing. I'm excited that I am in a role that also allows us to be able to display those cultural highlights and those maybe those minor differences that we may not be fully aware of, but exploring them and embracing them into the tapestry of what Central Florida truly is.
Absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We're going to take another quick commercial break, and then we're going to get into what the IACC offers in terms of their signature events, what you can look forward to if you're someone who is interested in joining or just want to find out more, want to start getting involved in that community, want to mingle a little bit. So, we're going to get into that discussion in a few. Stay tuned, guys.
I'm not picking it up. You pick it up.
I'm not picking it up.
Well, somebody's got to pick it up.
I'll pick it up. They're clean. 'Cause my hand is clean. Oh yeah, I'm Charmin clean. That's how I know they're clean.
Charmin Ultra Strong is woven like a washcloth and just cleans better.
Yeah, I'm Charmin
The
clean.
kid does have a
That's
point.
My hand is clean.
Enjoy the go with Charmin. And for an extra clean finish, try Charmin Flushable Wipes.
All right, guys, we are back with Edward DeAguilera, the Executive Director of the Indian American Chamber of Commerce. So, tell our audience about, the signature events that the Chamber has and how they can find out more about it.
Well, the first thing is our website. It's the easiest way to find out information about the Indian American Chamber of Commerce, and it's a super easy website. It's iaccorlando.com. And look, amazingly, I say it and it comes out in video words on the screen. That's how we roll. That's how
Absolutely.
we roll. With that, we host quite a number of signature events throughout the year. And I'm sure we'll talk about COVID and the challenges that has encountered with us being an event-centric organization. But one of the largest, and actually not just one of the largest, it is the largest ethnic event in all of the NBA, in the entire nation. Right here, hosted in our backyard at the Amway Arena with our partners, the Orlando Magic, is India Day. It is the largest event of its kind in all of the nation and for all the NBA. And people have literally called us and called the Orlando Magic and say, how do we do this? We are proud of this event. It is a cultural exuberance of Indian culture with food, with dances, with the costumes. As you can see with the pictures, we bring in known celebrities in the Indian community to come and represent and perform. It is just a highlight for our community. It brings in 50, 60,000 folks into this area. And not only that, we also get to have some fun with our partners, the Orlando Magic, which we absolutely appreciate our partnership with them. And we get to see some NBA, root our hometown team, and also celebrate a little bit about what Indian culture is. And also give us an opportunity to teach others that may not be so familiar with Bollywood and the dancing and the types of dress that they have. It gives us a wonderful opportunity to do that. And I have to give a shout out to FNN. You guys have always covered us, and we appreciate that very much. And we're proud of that event. So we appreciate the coverage that we have received for that particular event as well. In addition to that, we host, a golf tournament, and we also host annually our awards and gala. And we this is our event that we are so proud. We honor individuals, Entrepreneur of the Year, Businesswoman of the Year, Businessman of the Year. We also give out something called the Gandhi Day Award, and that is for almost like a humanitarian, a person who has given back to our community. And it is an event that, again, we get together and we celebrate. We celebrate culture. We celebrate business. We put the combo, and that's the key of what the Indian American Chamber of Commerce is. That's also an event that brings in a truly diverse audience. It is not just Indian Americans that are in that particular event, but it's a full rainbow of colors that actually come, because that is the one event that they are also able to come and enjoy and experience this combination of culture, of great food, of also business and networking too, and enjoy themselves in a wonderful, wonderful evening. The one
Yeah.
event that we're also extremely proud is called Gandhi Day. And Gandhi Day,
Mhm.
of course, we all know who he is, and how important to Indian culture he was and to the history of India. And as a humanitarian that he was, we have always set in one day a year where we ask all our members and all the business community to give back to our community, because we at the Indian American Chamber of Commerce believe that it's important to be successful, but it's important also to give back. That your
Mhm.
success is measured not just with what's on your bank account, but the success is also measured in what you can give to your community and to your neighbors. And this year we are going to be doing Gandhi Day, and maybe it'll look a little different, but these are all events that will continue to happen. They just may have a different look to them this year.
Right. And that's actually a good segue into that sort of impact that we've seen with the pandemic. Kind of talk about, before we dive completely into the pandemic side of
Sure.
things, kind of talk about what the Indian American Chamber of Commerce's vision is. We talked earlier a little bit about the importance of knowing what that vision is and communicating that to not only your respective teams, but to the people in the community that the organization serves. So, share with our audience what the Indian American Chamber's vision is for the community.
It's a really simple, and it's fostering business, connecting people. It is as simple as that. We can elaborate, we can go, but if you are fostering business and connecting people, you are achieving a certain level of goal, and that is the goal of the Indian American Chamber of Commerce. We want folks to be successful and to use the Indian American Chamber membership to be as successful as you possibly can, to grow your business and to make sure that you're able to achieve your personal goals. So it's as simple as that: fostering business, connecting people.
There you go. All right, and then like now we can really take that hard turn to talk about how COVID-19 has kind of impacted things, because as you guys saw with the photo there, that was India Day with the Orlando Magic this year, February 2020, and shortly after that, COVID-19 hit. That was the very last major event that the Indian American Chamber was able to do. So, kind of talk about how COVID-19 has impacted the chamber and how the chamber has kind of pivoted in response to the virus.
And the chamber has not only has it pivoted, everybody has seemed to have pivoted very much during this particular time. And you're absolutely right. That was our last large signature event that we were able to have. We actually hosted a business after hours, I think maybe 2 weeks before the shutdown. But other than that, you're right. We've gone into a much more virtual world. And one of the things that we've done, and I want to share this before I tell you exactly what, and kind of going back to India Day with the Orlando Magic, I had a meeting with one of their top executives, and this was very in the onset. It was in March, so it was the onset when COVID really hit us, and we did
Really
not
hit.
know. Yeah, it was a shutdown, and we were still struggling for answers, and we had more questions than answers, I should say. And I remember one of the executives, when I told her, look, these are the things that we're doing. And she told me very specifically, is right now is the time for over communication. Make sure that your members know as much information as you have. That is the glue that is going to keep you guys together during these very challenging times. And so we kind of, it was interesting. She was kind of making sure that we were had that mantra, but that mantra was something that we had developed beforehand. And she kind of reassured us that you're in the right path. Because one of the biggest worries that we always have is, gosh, how many times do we all get multiple emails and it's spam and this, and we get the phone calls? But during this particular time in this epidemic, we've seen that folks starve for information. So with that said, the Indian American Chamber pivoted very aggressively to making sure that we are over communicating with our members. During the early onset, we knew that there were so many different plans with PPP loans, with the Small Business Administration offering new guidance. We were offering information in the conduit. So I told you guys the website, but I'm also going to ask you guys, if you guys can, on our social media, on Facebook, make sure you like our page, because it's one, especially during this particular COVID time, it's one of the methods that we are communicating with the entire community aggressively. And it's Facebook, Indian American Chamber of Commerce, Orlando. But with that, we also developed new programming. And one of the programs that we're so proud of is something that's called iTalk. And iTalk was a method for us to bring in community, business, health leaders, medical leaders into our fold and ask them hard questions of what's going on. We've had the luxury of having county commissions, city commissioners, state representatives, school board members, business leaders. We've also had some fun shows too, so it's not always so serious. We had a representative from the Florida dairy farmers that actually did some cooking demonstrations. But the
Wow.
reason we did that is because we wanted to make sure that our members in our community knew that we were here and we were very present and wanting to make sure that we did our part to help us through this just very challenging times. Though we are now operational as far as, restaurants are open, stores are somewhat open, we're not 100%.
Right.
Community, we do understand, is still hurting. We have lots of folks that are seeking employment that have lost opportunities. We have businesses that have lost revenue, and we understand that. And so here now with us, we now pivoted in the type of information that we're giving. How do we,
Gotcha.
as a business, survive through COVID, right? How do
Mm-hmm.
we, and so we're bringing in experts that are telling you, look, these are some new marketing things. These are some new areas that maybe you didn't think of how you can expand your share. How can you market different now with COVID as compared
Mm-hmm.
to, come January, where we were marketing very differently than we are now.
Very differently. Awesome. So we're going to continue this conversation. We're going to take one more quick commercial break because I do want to get into, how the chamber was able to kind of administer that help, especially as it related to the PPP and the CARES funding, all of that fun stuff. So stay tuned, everybody. Our conversation with Edward DeAguilera continues, guys. Stay tuned.
You need time to stand still or get up and go. You need to unplug or to reconnect with those who matter most. You need to kick back, to dive in, to have your moment in the sun. You need a palace to lift your spirits, to taste the finer things. You need room to feed your soul, to remember why you travel. You need Lowe's. The legendary Lowe's Don Cesar Hotel, St. Pete Beach. The room you need.
And we are back with Edward DeAguilera. Thanks so much for sticking with us. So yeah, let's get into the sort of brass tacks in terms of the chamber being able to help its members or anyone in the business community that needed that kind of help. Because I know there was a kind of double-edged sword where the PPP was concerned. The chambers didn't quite get any coverage or help as it related to the PPP, right? But at the same time, you guys still had to fulfill your mission to help the businesses that are connected to you, to help them fill it out, or to apply for it. So kind of talk about the Indian American Chamber's experience with that.
No, and you're absolutely right. Though chambers of commerce were excluded from that particular funding, the way we decided to move forward with it was key. Is we needed to make sure we were aggressive in providing that information for everybody. In addition, what the Indian American Chamber also had was something a little unique that some of the other chambers did not. Because the word Indian is on our title, we received a lot of phone calls from a lot of the nationals that lived here that were furloughed, a lot of students that were furloughed that were stuck here. Just as an FYI, the closest consulate embassy is in Atlanta for the Indian community. So we also then jumped into that side, though that does not necessarily, it was the right thing to do, even though it's not necessarily the job of the Chamber of Commerce. It was the right thing to do for us. So the way that we helped is we were, again, it's the aggressive part. A lot of the businesses, their first initial is, hey, we need help. But when you're also then dangling a carrot that says, we're going to give you all this money and we may or may not have to pay it, there is apprehension. So we make sure we contacted and we leveraged our relationships with professionals that are in this industry, that were bankers, that were also part of the SBA, which is the Small Business Administration. And we brought them in, and that's where we also brought in a lot of our elected officials so they can walk and talk through this process. Because I will tell you, gang, this was a maze. It was a maze
Mm-hmm.
that is still going on for folks. And so we wanted to be the person who helped to our businesses and our members to get through that maze as easily and as concisely and as fast, as quickly as possible. So that was the role that the chamber decided to take, is how can we assist our members through all these different types of programs, through then the additional programs that the CARES the Funding Act from Orange County. And we leveraged our relationships with Orange County to make sure we brought in county commissioners to talk about it so that they knew exactly what to do, how to do it, and when to do it. And so that is the way and the methodology that we did it. And the best way that we did it was through iTalk. Again, it's iTalk is a program that's going to stay way beyond COVID. It has proved itself to be successful. It proved to be an educational tool. So there's the silver lining, is that we developed a brand new innovative program that we are now able to get this information in real time. So it will continue way past COVID, and but that was also one of the methodologies. Because look, we were doing aggressives on emails, we were putting things on our social media, but we wanted to make sure that if our members had questions, that we were able to answer them. And so what's the best way? Asking me or asking the county commissioner that actually would be able to have those answers right then and there.
Very true. So given where we are in the business landscape that you're seeing, as well as someone that's in the chamber, like on the staff, what do you feel businesses need to do now to be able to thrive in the midst of the pandemic? Like we're starting to make a turn. We're starting to hear talks of vaccines and development and things like that. But what do you think businesses need to be doing now in order to thrive?
Well, the best thing of taking that turn, I think we have our blinker on. I think we have not quite turned yet.
Right.
But the blinker's on and we're getting ready. We're getting ready to turn, but there's still a little traffic that we have to make sure that gets through. The advice that I can give business is, please over communicate. You're going to hear me say that over and over again. You must communicate with your client base. You must make sure you're also innovative. Don't be afraid to try new ideas. Don't be afraid to do things like podcasts and aggressive social media and email promotions. Don't be afraid to also leverage the partnerships that you already have, whether it's a Rotary membership, Chamber of Commerce membership, you sit on a board of a nonprofit. This is not the time to wait. This is the time to be aggressive, innovative, creative. This is the time that you must think, I'm losing 30% of my business. How can I get a piece of it? Now, with that said, please don't expect us to be at 100%. And I want my business owners and my sales forces out there to understand, we need to be realistic. But if we lost 30%, can I regain an additional 10? Can I regain an additional 15? We are all going to be suffering through this a little bit of this time. Our goal is to make it through. And that is the important, crucial, is to make it through as unscathed as possible. And I know that's easier said than done, because we've all experiencing the bruises that we've had with this. But that is the goal. And that is where you need to be creative. So if you're a restaurant, how can you lost 50% of your capacity, how do you make it up? Is it you having events outside, that having a tent, putting extra seating out there, offering a special to-go menu? There are so many different ways that you can at least think of how you can expand your business. And that is something that you need to do. And also, don't give up your membership-oriented places, because this is the time that we need to stay together, that we need to fight together, that you need to network even harder, because it is going to be more challenging to find those clients. They're out there, gang. I see it every day. This is the time to double down on that and to be aggressive and to network and to make sure that those contacts that you may have not called in quite some time, this is the time to contact them, because you don't know how everyone's doing. There could be folks that are doing just fine. And I will tell you, there are certain industries that have gone through this unscathed.
Very true. There have been some, and some actually flourished, in this time, given the level of demand for them.
Zoom, hi. They seem to be doing, and Amazon, I think they've all used them.
Blew up.
Absolutely.
And I mean, even the platform that we're using here, they've blown up as well, because there were a lot of celebrities that couldn't necessarily produce music or act, in projects the conventional way. So they had to go virtual and they had to pick a platform. So, these guys, their value shop.
And Mellissa, you and I have talked about it. Both the Indian American Chamber of Commerce actually use this specific platform as well, because we find it extremely user-friendly and graphically enhanced. So I understand completely. You guys do it just much better than we do, though.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. So, I mean, what is coming up next for the Indian American Chamber, given obviously the pivot that you guys had to make, obviously the success of iTalk? What is next for the Indian American Chamber?
Well, we are going to have our awards ceremony. It's not going to look the same. It's not going to be, unfortunately, it's not going to be the lavish gala. We are talking to some great media partners that hopefully will be simulcasting this awards component to our membership as well. But we are going to do things and adhering to the CDC rules. We are asking for nominations today. We want folks to be acknowledged of the great work that they have done in their community. If they're humanitarians, to get the Gandhi Day Award. If they're great business women or men in this community, this is the time to nominate and to understand that we need to have some type of continuity through our year. So we will be having it. It'll be in October, and that's our next hybrid event. We are going to have our award winners gather in an outdoor location, socially distancing everyone. So please, everyone, understand that we are going to adhere to all the CDC rules, but we are going to gather in the smaller numbers where they will be able to speak after they win their award and to thank those that helped them on their journey to achieve that award. And so that we can acknowledge their success, because during these times that are challenging, the adversity that they're all dealing with, we must also find time to celebrate and to acknowledge who these folks that are the cream it always flows to the top. These are folks that are doing that, and we need to make sure we take that moment to honor them. And the gala is also a tradition. These gala/awards have been a tradition for the Indian American Chamber of Commerce for quite some time, and we wanted to make sure that this year is no exception. It may look different, but it's going to happen.
Absolutely. And to be honest with you, we here are looking forward to it because, even with covering the gala last year, and last year was very interesting because it was a combination of the sort of classy, pageantry of a gala with the sort of kind of excitement of, sports cars, because they did it at a luxury car dealership. It was amazing. It was an amazing experience. So being able to see both of those worlds come together, and like you said, seeing the sort of rainbow, if you will, like the diversity of cultures that were there. Like it wasn't just, the Indian American community alone. It was, the Indian American business community, other business owners in the area, elected officials, like everyone that could be there, that paid their ticket to be there, they were there. And, it was a great time had by all. So we definitely look forward to that. So in the meantime,
and we look forward
to say something. Go ahead.
No, and we look forward to you guys participating. You guys have always been very kind to covering our events, and we appreciate that truly.
No problem. We're going to take one last commercial break, guys. And when we come back, we're going to dig a little bit more into Edward DeAguilera, the person. We started off with him as a person, kind of covering his history a little bit, giving you guys sort of the overview as to where he started. But we're kind of, as always, you guys know I like to wrap up our shows with who the person is, what motivates them, what keeps them going. So those are the questions we'll wrap up with. Stay tuned, everybody.
One of the things I love about Bass Pro is they have 3 great ways to shop. You can head into one of their awesome stores, visit BassPro.com, or get great gear from that catalog Johnny Morris sends out. Hi, here's your package. Bass Pro Shops, where commitment, passion, and the great outdoors all come together. Why would you shop anywhere else?
And we are back. So with the one and only Edward DeAguilera. So, as we wrap up a little bit, I always like to ask all of our guests, like, what do you feel is the most meaningful, the most gratifying part of the work that you do? What's your favorite part of the work that you do?
I have to say it's the feeling of giving back, of seeing what the product of what's being produced and how it affects folks. It means a lot. Um, and that's probably one of the most challenging things now during this particular COVID time, because you put a lot of things. We're obviously doing things very virtually now. And so you lose that immediate side of seeing folks and how they react. And that's been the biggest challenge for me, is being
Mhm.
able to talk personally. Look, Gag, you can tell with a name like DeAguilera, there's some Latin blood flowing through me, right? And what I miss the most is that hug and that kiss and that handshake and
Yes.
that one-on-one that is just in my DNA. And that, I know may sound silly, but that pushes me. That motivates me. That's the passion, is that you want to create things that are helpful and that can be positive within your community. And when you see the product of what that means to folks and how they were able to leverage it to be successful in however way, whether it's a traditional nonprofit or a chamber of commerce or in your business, that is the carrot in front of my face that I keep on running towards, that I will always try to run towards. Like I said before, and I truly believe this, I've been blessed to be in this community, and I love my city. I was born and raised here in Orlando, and my goal is always to give back as much as I possibly can, and that I have the honor of being able to do it both for my profession and personally. I'm blessed. I'm truly am, and so that's my passion and my motivation.
And talk about, this is gonna be hard to pick one, but just share with us a project that greatly impacted you, one that possibly even transformed you as a person, like something where you came out of it an even better person than you were when you began.
And yes, you're right. That's a hard question, because there's so many things that have shaped. And I'm one of those folks that believe that everything that I have done has actually built the puzzle of who I am, has led me to this place right now. Um, so there are things that I can say. Joining the Indian American Chamber of Commerce, taking that leap, that affected me profoundly. Being experienced to this whole entire culture that I was not as familiar with has changed me for the better. I'm more enriched for it. When I worked at the Hispanic Chamber, creating the Latin Food and Wine Festival, that was something that I'm proud of, that I'm still proud of. When I worked at the Down Syndrome Association, and seeing those kiddos' faces and actually know that you were affecting their lives on a daily basis, that all those things have profoundly changed who I am. So I know I did not follow the rules. I said I agree, but I could probably keep on going of things that just profoundly changed. But the one thing that has changed me the most and has blessed me the most is not professional. It is, I was lucky enough to meet my wife in college at the University of Central Florida, and that she's not only has blessed me to join me in my world, but she also gave me two beautiful children that can be annoying at times, but I love them very much. Oh, and there she
Yeah.
is. There she is. Absolutely. And I'm so honored that she actually agreed to walk this journey of life with me through this all these crazy times that we've all been through. And that truly has been the most profound change in my life.
Well, thank you for sharing that. We appreciate that for sure. Now, obviously, we covered a lot of ground on this show, but given everything that we did discuss, is there anything that you feel the audience should know that we haven't covered yet?
I think we talked a lot, and I just, again, join us on social media. Make sure that you follow us there, and make sure you check us out on ihtcorlando.com. That's where you're going to get a lot of information. Call us up, talk to us, find out how you can use the chamber to really grow yourself. And I think that'll be beneficial if you're thinking of doing something like that. Take the leap, and oftentimes chambers will allow you to come to particular events and to experience some things for free. So if it's not even the Indian American Chamber of Commerce, my biggest thing that I want to share is chambers are here to support and help. We have some of the most amazing chambers: West Orange, Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Asian American, African American. The list goes on and on. I think we have about 33 different chambers of commerce here in Central Florida alone. My push and motivation is join them. You will see, if you use them, you will see how it'll affect your bottom line.
Well said, mic drop. That was awesome.
Boom.
Um, So, Edward DeAguilera, always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us on today's FNN Business Talk. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
No problem. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that does it for us here at the FNN Business Talk. This was a special episode. You guys know that we normally bring our business talks on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern. Edward was gracious enough to kind of move his schedule around to make sure that we were able to have this awesome conversation today. So as always, guys, if you haven't yet with us, be sure to like, share, follow, subscribe, all that fun stuff. You can find us at Florida National News on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. So be sure to follow us, and on YouTube, not only hit the subscribe button, but also hit the little bell icon so you get notifications for all of our shows. And I didn't mention this at the start of the show, but I did want to give you guys a reminder of our invitation as always. If you are a business owner, or if you know a business owner that is looking to advertise, just shoot us a quick email at ads@floridanationalnews.com. We'd love to open up the conversation with you and get started promoting. You guys see that we run commercials on all of our shows. So if you're interested in advertising or even sponsoring one of our shows, we'd love to have that conversation with you. In the meantime, guys, I'm Mellissa Thomas. Thank you so much for tuning in. You'll see me again in an hour, specifically, an hour exactly. I'll be back at 5 p.m. with the evening news rundown, as always bringing you guys the latest and top stories of the day, your quick bite-sized news summary. But in the meantime, thank you so much for tuning in today, and I'll see you at 5. Take care.